Sri, I'm already late. Okay, so we are discussing about the HL model. Before starting this thing new, any problem from the introduction part of the HL model? Anyone in this class? Any problem with HL model till now? No, right? Just a minute. Just give me 1 minute. Huh? Mm, yes. Hello. Yes. So here we are. So what is Hexagon model? Hexagon model is telling us if a country is labor abundant, then the country should produce more of the labor intensive commodity and will export it. Okay. So and if it is capital abundant, then he should produce capital intensive commodity and export it. Okay. So this is the Hexagon model. So we logically explained, we logically proved HO model, and now we are going to derive the same conclusion mathematically. So look, we know that price is equal to LAC. This is the long run equilibrium condition. All of you know that price is equal to LAC at the equilibrium. Now PX, that means for the X unit, there are two commodities produced by the countries. So the X is produced, PX is the price of X is equal to W into ALX and R into KX. Now look, AKX, sorry. Now, as both the outputs or both the commodities can be produced by two factors of production, so here we have one ALX component and one AKX component. And similarly for Y, we have ALY and AKY. Fine. So this is the equilibrium for both the market. That means for X market and for the Y market. Okay. Now, if I differentiate first equation, total differentiate, then we will have this. And if you just divide it by px and the first component by multiplied by w and divide by w, the second component of your right hand side multiplied by r, divide by r. So it is something very I can write it neatly. So dpx by px, that I can write it as px hat. Okay, px hat means the proportionate change of px. Okay, it's very similar to that percentage change, the elasticity of demand concept. Okay, so this is dpx by px, which is written as px hat. Similarly, dw by w, this is written as w hat. dr by r is written as r hat. Okay. Now look at w into alx by px. This is written as theta lx. Now what is theta lx? Look, px is the price of x, right? And w into alx is the expenditure for labor in x unit or x production. Okay, so if you sell 1 unit of X, you can get PX. If you want to produce 1 unit of X, then W into ALX is the expenditure for labor. So that is why W into ALX by PX, this is written as this is called the proportionate expenditure for labor. Okay, this is your expenditure for labor. The numerator is the expenditure of labor and denominator is the return from your output. Okay, so this is called the ratio is called proportionate expenditure for labor. Similarly, R into AKX by PX, this is called proportionate expenditure for capital. Okay, so this is proportionate expenditure for labor, this is proportionate expenditure for capital, and this is denoted as theta lx and theta kx. So I can write this differentiation equation like px hat is equal to theta lx w hat plus theta kx r hat. So this is called equation 3. Now tell me your problem from equation 3 up to equation 3, your problem I can discuss. your problem up to equation 3. Is there any problem?
No, ma'am.
Now look, if I just write theta Lx and theta kx, that theta Lx plus theta kx, then I'm just writing all those values. And then if I arrange them, look at the numerator, theta Lx plus Rkx, because denominator for both the case is Px. Okay, so Px is here as the denominator and the numerator is Wlx plus Rkx. So what is that? From equation 1, Wlx plus Rakx is nothing but Px, right? So Px by Px, that is 1. So what is the conclusion? That theta Lx plus theta Kx is equal to 1. That is the proportionate expenditure for labor and the proportionate expenditure for capital. If you sum them two, then you will get is equal to 1. So theta Lx is 1 minus theta Kx, or theta Kx is 1 minus theta Lx. So this is required actually when we will discuss this derivation. Now, so what is the conclusion? If this is, so we can say that Px hat, look at equation 3 again. Px hat is the weighted average of W hat and R hat. So what are the weightage? Weightages are theta Lx and theta Kx. Okay, so it's like that the 30% of labor. So WLX is 0.3. Okay, and if it is percentage, then sum total will be 100. So here also it is the proportion, so that's why the sum total is 1. So Px hat is the weighted average of W hat and R hat. Okay, and what is the value of those weightage? Theta Lx and theta Kx. Similarly, if you differentiate equation 2, then you will get Py hat is equal to theta. So Py hat is equal to theta Ly W hat plus theta Ky R hat. Just like equation 1. So this equation is called as equation 4. Okay, so from equation 3 and equation 4, if you differentiate equation 4 from equation 3, then it will be Px hat minus Py hat, right? It will be Px hat minus Py hat, and that will be, if you just rearrange them, theta Lx minus theta Ly into W hat minus theta Ky minus theta Kx into R hat. Okay, there is an R hat. If you just write it in your copy, you can understand. If you make the difference between 3 and 4, that is 3 minus 4, then it will be like this. It's a little bit long equation. And from here, you can go, yes. Now look, mod theta. Now I am going to, no, not mod theta, this determinant theta. So determinant theta is equal to theta Lx, theta Kx. What are those? Look at this. Theta Lx, theta Ly, theta Ky, theta Kx. So these are there. Okay. So I'm just writing it like determinant theta Lx, theta Ly. Okay. I'm just writing vertically. Theta Lx, theta Ly, theta Kx, theta Ky. Now, what is that? The determinant, how to find out the value of the determinant? Theta Lx, theta Ky minus theta Ly, theta Kx. Now, if you want to convert all the things in terms of labor, then you have to replace this capital by labor, this capital by labor. How can you do that? Look at this. Theta Lx plus theta Kx is equal to 1. So what is theta Kx? 1 minus theta Lx. Okay. So you can write it 1 minus theta Lx. Similarly, 1 minus theta Ly. Okay. And then just remove those bracket and you will get theta Ky minus theta Kx and theta Lx, theta Ly. Okay. So if actually from here you will get theta Lx minus theta Ly. If you just remove all those, you can understand. Two terms will be cancelled out, that is theta Lx, theta Ly. These two terms will be cancelled out and you will get theta Lx minus theta Ly. Now, if you replace that L by K, that is 1 minus Kx and 1 minus Ky, then you will get theta Ky minus theta Kx. This line should be after this. The Ky term, this line should be after this L term. Anyway, so what is the value of determinant theta? Theta Lx minus theta Ly or theta Ky minus theta Kx. Up to this point, is it okay? Up to this point, is it okay? Determinant theta.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what are those values? Look, theta Lx minus theta Ly. What is this? Here we have one. Theta Lx minus theta Ly. Okay, theta Lx minus theta Ly. So I can replace this by determinant theta. I can replace this total term by determinant theta. Similarly, this is also determinant theta. Look, theta ky minus theta kx. Theta ky minus theta kx. This is also determinant theta. So both the first bracket term of this large equation, this is determinant theta and this is also determinant theta. So you can take determinant theta as common. Then it will be px hat minus py hat, determinant theta w hat minus r hat. Okay. Now look. Up to this point, it is very good. Now look at this. As we assume that commodity X is labor intensive, right? We assume na the home country is labor abundant and commodity X is labor intensive. So you can say that as we assume that commodity X is labor intensive, the commodity X is using relatively more labor than capital, right? This is the definition of intensity. Now, if you are more labor intensive, that means ALX by AKX is greater than ALY by AKY, right? And if it is, this is okay. This is why, because we assume that X is labor intensive. As we assume X as labor intensive, this inequality is true. Is that inequality clear to all? Is that inequality clear to all? Why this inequality is there? Can you tell me why this inequality is here? Anyone in this class, can you tell me why this inequality I have written? Why this inequality?
Ma'am, can you repeat it again? That inequality.
Yes, I was asking why I have written this inequality. What is the reason behind this inequality?
Ma'am, I was asking about actually, like, I
Oh,
was
so no
asking
one
a
was
question.
listening. Yes, that I can understand. No one was listening. You are only here, yes ma'am type. Look, ALX by AKX means the commodity X is using relatively more labor as compared to commodity Y. Why? Because I assume that X is labor intensive. This is our definition. That was our basic definition, that home country is labor abundant and commodity X is labor intensive. As commodity X is labor intensive, the commodity X should use relatively more labor than capital as compared to another commodity. So ALX by AKX is greater than ALY by AKY. Now is it okay? Now is it
Yes, ma'am.
okay?
Yes, ma'am.
So here we have W into ALX by PX. So I'm just just a minute and give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute. Yes. So here we are. So what I am doing now, if this inequality is true, then I can divide both sides by px by py, and I can multiply each side. That means in the left hand side w by w, so that will be cancelled out. I am multiplying by w, divide by w. The right hand side is multiplied by r and divided by r. Okay, so this will be cancelled out. So the inequality will be intact. Now what happened? WALX divided by PX. What is that? By definition, this is theta LX. Look, this is theta LX. Look, WALX by PX. This is written as theta LX. Similarly, RAKX by PX. This is written as theta KX, like that. So if I replace those by theta, then this inequality will be theta LX by theta LY greater than theta KX, theta KY. Hmm. So if I multiply this side and that side and then take everyone to the left hand side, then it will be theta Lx, theta ky minus theta Ly, theta kx greater than 0. Okay, and what is that? Look, theta Lx, theta ky minus theta Ly, theta kx. This is nothing but your determinant theta. Okay, this is nothing but your determinant theta. So you can just write it determinant theta. Hmm. So what is the value of determinant theta? It is greater than 0. Okay. So what is the range of determinant theta? It is greater than 0 and less than 1. Why it is less than 1? Because it is the difference of the fractions. Right? If you are going to difference between the fractions, then it is less than 1 always. Okay, so what is determinant theta? In a single word, it is a positive fraction. Okay, so determinant theta is a positive fraction. Fine. Now look, so your determinant theta is a positive fraction. What is determinant theta? Px by px hat minus py hat divided by w hat minus r hat. So if you just write it in place of determinant theta, so it will be like that. Or if you make it inverse, then r hat minus w hat minus r hat divided by px hat minus py hat. This is 1 by determinant theta, and that should be greater than 1. Okay, now you can ask me why I'm doing so many determinant, henna, thena, and this and that. Why? Because I want to prove a theorem. Okay? So what is the theorem? The theorem is Stolper-Samuelson theorem. Hmm. Now d log w by r by d log, look here, w hat minus r hat. So how can I write it? W hat means what? W hat means dw by w, right? R hat means dr by r. Hmm. So you can write it like this, d log w by r. If you differentiate the log value, then it will be dw by w minus, you can understand, if you differentiate log w by r, it will be dw by w minus dr by r. Okay, and this is what you are having here, a w hat minus r hat. So you can write it d log w by r by d log px by py. This is equal to 1 by determinant theta, and which is greater than 1. So what is the implication of all those, this 2 pages mathematics? What is the implication of it? Implication is, if w by r is rising, then if px by py is rising, if px by py is rising, w by r is rising more than that. Okay, that means, look, first of all, we have already proved that there is a positive, or there is a one-to-one relation between px by py and w by r, right? That means if px by py is rising, then w by r should rise. If px by py is falling, then w by r should fall. But how much it will rise, or whether it will rise by the same proportion or not, that we didn't know. Hmm. So this mathematics is helping us to understand that if px by py is rising, then w by r is rising more than px by py. Okay, so that means if px by py is rising by 30%, then w by r should rise by more than 30%. Okay, if px by
Ma'am,
py, yes.
can you repeat the last part again?
Yes. First of all, if Px by Py is rising, we already know that W by R should rise because there is one-to-one relation between W by R and Px by Py. Both are going to the same direction, that we know. But here, this mathematics is showing that if Px by Py is rising, then W by R should rise by more than that. So that is what I said. If Px by Py is rising by 20%, then W by R should rise by more than 20%. Okay? That is why the ratio is greater than 1.
Okay, ma'am.
This is called magnification effect. This is called magnification effect. Fine. So magnified, the effect of Px by Py is magnified for W by R. Hmm. It's more. Now, it has another implication. Say Px hat is greater than Py hat. That means Px by Py is rising. Okay. So Px hat is greater than Py hat. So we know that W hat is greater than R hat because W by R should also rise. So these two lines are clear already to us. Now, as Px hat and Py hat both are the weighted average of W hat and R hat, look here. Px hat is the weighted average of W hat and R hat. Similarly, Py hat is the weighted average of W hat and R hat. Okay, so this is written here as Px hat and Py hat are weighted average of W hat and R hat. So average, it's average value. Px hat is the average value of W hat and R hat. So Px hat must be within W hat and R hat, right? If I am saying that 20 is the average of 10 and 30, right? Then 20 is in between 10 and 30, right? So this is why just the mean, it is a mean value. So, and W hat is greater than R hat, so I can write Px hat in between W hat and R hat, and similarly Py hat in between W hat and R hat. So these two inequalities are coming, and if you arrange these two inequalities as Px hat is greater than Py hat, so you can write this way: W hat is greater than Px hat is greater than Py hat is greater than R hat.
Ma'am,
Yes.
and what is the significance of this inequality?
Yes, yes, it is very significant actually. At first, make yourself clear about this. Is that okay? This inequality is called the Stolper-Samuelson theorem. Now, is this okay? This inequality part, up to this inequality, if it is okay, then I will explain what is the implication of it. How I
Yes, ma'am.
can use it. So Stolper-Samuelson theorem, I don't know actually whether it is already discussed in your math eco class. Is it done?
No, ma'am.
Okay, but then it will be done. Yes, Stolper-Samuelson theorem, Lipsinski theorem, these will be discussed by yes and math. But anyway, it has it has a very important importance actually. It's a significance in the HO model. Look, if Px hat is greater than 0, look, Px hat is greater than 0, there is no change in Py. Fine. Px hat is greater than 0, that means Px is rising. There is no change in Py. The price of Y is unchanged, but price of X is rising. Then what you will get? Do you get my point? What I am trying to say you? That say Px hat is greater than 0, but Py hat is equal to 0. That means there is no change in Py. Price of Y is unchanged, but price of X is rising. Then if you can write it like this, W hat is greater than 0 is greater, because Py hat is not here because it's 0 now. Okay, is R hat. Look, so W hat is greater than 0. That means W hat is rising and R hat is less than 0. That means R hat is falling. R is falling. Okay, not R hat. R is falling, the wage is rising and rent is falling. Okay, so this is the thing. Now, how can you explain it? Look at the beauty, look at the importance of this theorem. What happened? There is no change in price of Y. Hmm. Price of X is rising. X is assumed as labor intensive. Okay. So the price of labor intensive commodity is rising. Nothing else. Price of labor intensive commodity is rising. And what happened with the factor market? The reward for labor is rising. This is quite logical, right? The price of labor intensive commodity is rising. That is why the reward of labor is also rising. W hat is greater than 0. This is quite logical, yes. The fact the commodity is using labor intensively, so the reward of labor is rising because the price of that commodity is rising. Fine. But look at R hat. There is no change in PY. Y is as assumed as labor capital intensive, and there is no change in the capital intensive commodity. But as the reward of labor is rising, the reward of capital is falling. This is so unfortunate, na? The reward of capital is falling. Hmm. So there is no change in capital intensive commodity market. Nothing is there in the capital intensive commodity market. Everything is there in the labor intensive commodity market. But the effect of it is on the capital. And how it affect? The reward of capital is falling. Okay. Similarly, you can see it if Py hat is greater than 0 and Px hat is equal to 0. The just opposite. Okay. So, okay, is it clear to you
Ma'am,
that the implication? Yes.
is it so because the reward, the fall is equal to the rise in wages?
No, 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 no. Yes, partially true. Actually, what happened when the reward, when the price of labor-intensive commodities rising, the people are interested to employ more labor. Okay, and actually, the producers are interested to produce more of that commodity. Done. Now, if it is, then he has to employ more labor as compared to capital because the commodity by nature is labor intensive, right? So the reward of labor is rising, and as compared to that, the demand for capital is falling, and that is why, as the supply of capital is rising, that is why the reward of capital is falling. Hmm.
No, ma'am. For
So
the second part, like for PY, it is unchanged. So is it so because R hat, the fall in reward for capital is equal to the rise in reward for labor?
yes, yes, yeah, yes. If there is perfect competition, then yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Now, factor price equal up to this point, is it okay? So we have in today we have discussed two things, actually three things. First of all, the HO model, mathematical derivation of the HO model. The second one is the magnification effect, and the third one is the Stolper-Samuelson theorem. Okay, look, how can you explain HO model from the Stolper-Samuelson theorem? That I didn't discuss. What is HO model? That the factor which is the country which is abundant of the factor should produce the commodity which is intensively using the factor. Okay. Now here, home country is assumed as labor abundant country and X is labor intensive. Hmm. Now look, after this all magnification effect and that I can understand, we can understand that the price of X is rising and the reward of the labor is also rising. Hmm. And as home country is labor intensive abundant country, then home country should produce more of PX1. That is how he can improve or develop or increase welfare of his people because it is labor abundant country. So this is how you can prove the HO model. We will explain it diagrammatically as well. So logical explanation is done, mathematical explanation is done. The diagram is there. So I'm going to discuss it. Any question up to this point?
No, ma'am.
So the next one is factor price equalization. Anyone else, by the way? Everyone is so silent in this class. Factor price equalization theorem. Factor price equalization theorem means when we are discussing about the HO model, look, HO model is not discussing about the factor price. He is only discussing about the commodity which should be produced by the country, right? But the byproduct of HO model is the factor price equalization. Hmm. Look, the first bullet, the relative and the absolute factor prices will be same in both the countries after trade when there is no factor mobility across the country. Yes, this is an assumption that the factors can move between the sectors within the country, but it cannot go from one country to another country. That is not allowed. Okay. Now, the factor price equalization theorem is saying that relative and absolute factor price, relative means W by R, and absolute means W and R. Hmm. That will be same in both the countries after the trade when there will be no factor mobility across the country. So we are following the assumption. The assumption is factors cannot move from one country to another. Given this restriction, given this assumption, the HO model can show that after trade, W by R in the home country is equal to W by R in the foreign country. W in the home country is equal to W in the foreign country. R in the home country is equal to R in the foreign country. Okay, so look at the strength of this theorem, how strong it is. So to prove this theorem, we need two things. The first of all, one-to-one correspondence between the factor price ratio and the commodity price ratio, that we already done. We know that there is one-to-one relation between factor price and commodity price ratio. Okay, that we know. The second thing that which we don't know, the existence of overlapping zone for which rental ratio of the both countries. This is that we don't know. What is overlapping zone? What is overlapping W by R, that we don't know yet. Okay. But this one to one, this is done. One to one correspondence between factor price and commodity price, this is done in my last class actually. Because with the help of that, we prove HO model logically. Hmm. Now the overlapping zone, what is that? Look, this is the overlapping zone. Overlapping zone means, look, W by R in, we will see that W by R for each country, W by R for each country will vary within a range. It can move here, say W by R is equal to 20 to W by R is equal to 10. So it's that range. Within that, it will move. It can move. Why? Because there is an assumption of incomplete specialization. If W by R is going beyond this range, then the country will go for complete specialization. We will show you. No, not to worry. We will show how it is possible. But for the time being, just think about that. Just consider it as given that there is a range for W by R to exist so that the country will get the incomplete specialization. Huh? And the second thing that is proved here actually, the second bullet, the endowment ratio, that is L by K, is the weighted average of the sectoral factor intensities. Sectoral factor intensities when both factors are fully employed and there is incomplete specialization. Okay. Now look at this. You may not understand the second one if you just go through these lines. Just look at this proof, then we will go back to the second bullet again. What is L? L is the total amount of labor available in your economy, and that is equal to Lx plus Ly. Amount of labor employed in X sector, amount of labor employed in Y sector. Similarly, K is equal to Kx plus Ky. So the ratio, that is the endowment ratio, L by K, this is written as tau. This is equal to Lx plus Ly by K. Now Lx by Kx is nothing, it's just I'm just multiplying by Kx and divided by Kx. Okay, the first term. And the similarly the second term by Ky. So this Lx by Kx, this is written as tau x. Kx by Kx, tau y, Ky by K. Now this Kx by Kx and Ky by K, these are the weightage for tau x and tau y. Okay, these are considered as the weightage. So in that case, one more thing, tau x is greater than tau y. Tau x is what? Tau x is kx by k, and this is ky by k. And sorry, tau x is lx by kx and tau y is ly by ky. It is said that tau x is greater than tau y. Lx by kx is greater than ly by ky. Why? Because we assume x as the labor intensive. Okay, so and this is the nothing. Tau is the weighted average of tau x and tau y. Fine. So tau is within tau x and tau y, and tau x is greater than tau y because of the assumption of x as labor intensive commodity. In that case, you can write it as tau x is greater than tau is greater than tau y. So tau is within tau x and tau y. Okay, so now come back to second bullet. Endowment ratio, that is tau, is the weighted average of the sectoral factor intensity, that is tau x and tau y, when both factors are fully employed and there is incomplete specialization. Obviously, there is incomplete specialization. That is why tau x and tau y both are there. Otherwise, it will be either tau x or tau y. Okay. So this is the thing. These two things are important for the overlapping zone. First of all, the incomplete specialization, and the second one is this weighted average concept. So is this slide clear?
Ma'am,
Make
can you
take your
explain?
own time. Yes.
Ma'am, can you explain incomplete specialization again?
Yes, incomplete specialization means the country is producing both. And that is why this is for a single country, either for home or for the foreign country. Okay. As the country is going for incomplete specialization, that is why L is equal to Lx plus Ly. Otherwise, it will be either Lx or Ly. Similarly, K will be either Kx or Ky if it is complete specialization. But as we assume it is incomplete specialization, that is why we have two components for labor and for capital both. And that is why you have tau x and tau y. So if there is no incomplete specialization, that is if there is complete specialization, then you never get this relationship. So this in relationship is there because there is incomplete specialization. Okay? If there is complete, then either tau x will be 0 or tau y will be 0. Because you are going to produce either x or y for complete specialization. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So these two things are there to get the overlapping zone. So we discussed a lot about the overlapping zone. So what is the shape? How it looks? So here it is. This is just the explanation of the overlapping zone. Look at this. This diagram is, I think this is in any of your textbook. I can't remember the name, but either in Krugman or in Gibbs Jones. Look, first of all, in the horizontal axis, we are measuring K by L, L by K. Okay, labor by capital, that is the endowment ratio. On the vertical axis, we are measuring the price of those endowment, that is W by R. Huh? Now, there are two lines downward sloping. One is X, another is Y. So, these downward sloping lines are showing the relationship between W by R and K by L by K. Now look why it is downward sloping. Why this green and these red lines are downward sloping. If W by R is falling, if try to understand if W by there is no such name of these lines actually. If line is showing the relationship, nothing more. If W by R is falling, that means labor is becoming cheaper, right? And if labor is becoming cheaper, then producers are interested to employ more of labor So demand for L by K will rise. Okay. So there is an inverse or the negative relation between W by R and L by K, and which is represented by these two lines. Now the next question is, why there are two lines? Why not a single line? One line is representing X sector, another line is representing Y sector. Okay. Now look, the red line is called X and that's commodity, and Y is the Y commodity. Why this is X? Because given any wage rental ratio, X is assumed as labor intensive. So it is using more labor as compared to Y. Okay. For each and every W by R, for each and every W by R, commodity X is using relatively more labor by assumption. That is why that outer line, that is this red line, is representing X commodity, and this green line is representing Y commodity. Okay. Is this to is up to this point is it okay? Then I will explain all those horizontal and vertical lines.
Yes, ma'am.
Now look, if L by K is this shabby green line, okay, if your L by K is here, huh, say the L by K of any country is represented by this faded green line, then I am saying the wage rental ratio should be within R and S. This is the range. This is the range of wage rental ratio RS. This is my claim. I am claiming. Why? Why it is so? You can tell me why, ma'am. If it is more than R, then what is the problem? Look, if it is more than R, say the wage rental ratio in this country is R dash, not R. Then what is the thing? Given this R dash, for X sector, labor by capital demanded is represented by PX. Labor by capital demanded in the Y sector is represented by PY. Okay? Is it okay? দেখো ভেবে দেখো, if wage rental, I'm claiming that wage rental ratio should be within RS. If it is not, then what is the problem? That is what I am trying to explain now. If it is not within this range, then what is the problem? If the wage rental ratio is R dash in the economy, then given this wage rental ratio, X sector is demanding PX amount of L by K, and Y sector is demanding PY amount of L by K. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Hmm. So the total demand of L by K is rho X plus rho Y, which is less than L by K. X sector is demanding relatively lesser labor which is available in the economy. Y sector is also demanding relatively lesser labor as compared to the labor available in the economy. So both sectors are demanding relatively lesser labor. Why I am saying relatively? Because it is L by K. So relatively lesser labor as compared to the labor available in the economy. So that means there will be excess supply of labor. If you make sum total of the demand of relative labor, then the demand is less than the supply. And if it is less, then wage rental ratio should fall. Everything is terms of relative. Okay. So then the wage rental ratio will fall, and it will fall down within this range. Similarly, if the wage rental ratio is less than S, say S dash, then for both the sector, L by K demand is more than which is available. The demand is more than supply. Simple. The demand for L by K is more than supply by both the sectors, both X and Y. Then the total demand is greater than total supply, then price will rise and this S dash will go back to RS. Okay, so this is how you can say that W by wage the wage rental ratio should be within RS. So if it is here, say now I am saying that okay fine, now I am agree with you that it is within RS. So say your wage rental ratio is this within RS. Okay. Now given this, look, this is the L by K demanded by X sector. Hmm. And this is the L by K demanded by the Y sector. And these two things are just the two side of L by K which is available. Okay. So now you can see that row. This is L by K supply. This is L by K demanded by the X sector and this is L by K demanded by the Y sector. So that it's just the average. Availability is just the average of the demand of the both sector. So it is possible. Okay, and it is possible from this thing. Tau is within tau x and tau y, and here it is. Your tau y is here and your tau x is here. So your tau is within this range. So this is possible. Okay, the incomplete specialization is possible. Is it okay? I should stop here because time is going to end. I was thinking I can finish this thing, but again I cannot. But anyway, not to hurry. I should take more time. Take your own time and try to understand. Today I have discussed about mathematical derivation of the HO model. There we proved the magnification effect, Stolper-Samuelson theorem, then the factor price equalization theorem, then the overlapping zone, and this is the diagram for overlapping zone where we make a conclusion that there is a wage rental ratio range. Wage rental ratio should be within this range to have incomplete specialization in the country. So tell me your problem up to this point.
Ma'am, how is it that rho x plus rho y, should it not be just rho x less than L by K and rho y less than L by K?
No, it is possible if you assume X as a capital intensive. As we are assuming X as labor intensive, rho X is always greater than rho Y.
No, ma'am, why are we adding and then comparing?
Why are you adding? Because these two are the demand. Okay. This rho X and rho Y, these are the demand. So that should equal to supply because there is a full employment. So the sum total should equal to the supply, that is L by K.
Okay, ma'am.
So make it equal. One should be to the left of L by K, another should be to the right of L by K. Otherwise, it is not possible. That it is in relative concept.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So I stop here for today. In the next class, we will continue. And if you have any query, please ask. The class is so down, I cannot understand how much